This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm,
do you want me to move
and
the
tabletop
microphone farther away
RPG
from my mouth, by
topics
the way?
sent in from around the world.
Just for another roll.
Hello, and welcome to Season 35, Episode 16 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Burke.
Yay! Perfect. First time, perfect. In today's episode, Robin from the UK shares their game days experience, and Carlos from Detroit asks what systems need an upgrade. Also from the Archive 2019, McWorm asks for help with a 10-year-old murder hobo. Share with us, join our Discord and drop it in the mailbag channel, or email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Please send in letters with questions, topics, suggestions, stories, whatever you'd like, con reviews. We need some emails, people. We have a lot. Mike, Fernando, we care about you. We have a lot of your content, so maybe others can. Steffi in Scotland, where have you been? I feel left out and forgotten. So, yeah.
We need to hear more tea about vampires.
Yeah, tea. Vampire tea. I have to look. I might have gotten one, but I don't think so. I'll look. So, yes. Do the things and send us content. Otherwise, what are we going to talk about? Like ourselves? That's awkward, and we don't like doing that. So, don't make us do that, please. Okay. Announcements. Game Days is happening May 24th. It's fun, safe, and free. The last one had like 9 different games in it from all these cool different systems. So you can sign up to run or play at happyjacks.org/discord. Again, it's totally free. You show up. All the games have safety tools, and it's just a really great online gaming experience. There's also games in all different time zones because we have a community that's kind of from all over the world. So it very easily bleeds into whatever your Saturday is. So go check it out. Also, we will be at GameX Memorial Day weekend. That's May 23rd through the 26th at the LAX Hilton. We will be doing our live show on Saturday night. So tune in, check it out. It usually happens around 8 p.m.-ish Pacific time. I don't know if I'm going to let Jason help set up the system. We'll see. Our indie designer of the month is Matthew Orr, the creative director at Wet Ink Games. You can find more information about them at wetinkgames.com, and you can purchase their games on Indie Press or DriveThruRPG. Today's product is Never Going Home. The world is already at war. Now the veil has been torn. The whispers promise you power. You may live long enough to lose your humanity. Never Going Home is a party-focused role-playing game set in the horror-haunted trenches of the First World War. The veil between wars has been opened by the slaughter from the war, and the monstrous whispers, capitalized, of beings wholly alien to humanity can now be heard. Some people have listened to the whispers enough to gain arcane power and are now struggling to maintain control of their minds and their bodies as they begin to change. Others are too far gone, mutilated into barely recognizable versions of their former selves. War consumes the days, and monsters stalk the nights. Not even dreams are safe. Players manage their characters' mental and emotional resources with a dwindling hand of cards. So this is very cool. It won an Emmy, I think in 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. It's a very cool looking book. The art is very evocative, and you can get print copies for $20 on DriveThruRPG, but you can also get PDFs available as well. All right.
It seems a nice, light, airy subject too, so it should be nice and fun.
Well, I wanted to contrast.
It honestly sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it's very cool. I wanted some contrast. Like last week was Heckin' Good Doggos, so that's like the most cheerful tail waggy game you could possibly have. So, I'm showing their range. I'm helping. All right.
I like it.
Thanks. But yeah, Heckin' Good Doggos. If you didn't catch last week's episode, it's also by them. They're very cool. You get to be a doggy. Okay. Mailbag number 1. Everything's fine. It's fine. I'm on a lot of cold medicine. It's okay. All right. Hello, Happy Jackers. I recently played in a game at Game Days, and I'd just like to say thank you for the emphasis on safety. I've not played PBTA before, but I wanted to try it for a while. I saw that Mike was running Escape from Dino Island, so I signed up to play. I got nervous about meeting new people and playing new games. I've only seen Jurassic Park once, many years ago, and haven't seen any of the other films. You're probably better for it. That's not in the email. uh, this was meant. This all meant that this was well outside my comfort zone, and I went into the game feeling incredibly nervous. But knowing that Happy Jacks puts a lot of emphasis on safety meant that I was nervous, but not refusing to play. I suspect many people don't realize that ignoring safety leaves people simply to decide not to play. In the end, I had a great time. I was confident that I could use the safety tools if I needed to, and that meant that I was able to play a female character. I am AMAB, MB, and generally present as male. And without the safety tools, I'd have chickened out and chosen a male character. Plus, when another player chose the kid playbook, I felt I was able to have my character be her mum. I love the mum. The mum. From the UK, clearly. That led to some great role playing with the character, as the relationship between them changed over the course of the game. All told, I had a great time with good people, and I got to try out a new system. But without the safety tools and confidence that they'd be respected, I would have had the nerve to sign up for the game. Thank you for making so much effort to ensure that people feel safe. Robin, in parentheses, from the UK. Good job. I'm a detective.
Yay! I love this email.
Yeah, I know, right? It's these are sometimes really just like what you need, like when you've been doing like something, and it's like community activity is and organizing is always like such a passion project, and it very rarely, like for as the person who runs our game days now, like kind of like the ins and outs of how much work it takes, but also like how seeing everyone do a good job is great, but very rarely do you get like a direct hey, thanks. So yeah, these emails are always fantastic. We do get them sometimes, but sometimes they say don't read on. They're not for the show. People are just like, hey, thanks so much. But yeah, no, this one was fantastic. And Robin, I'm so glad that you had a great time.
It's really awesome. I've gotten a few feedback from people we've been doing this, and so often it's this kind of stuff. People that are really excited about feeling safe, but also feeling like they're going to have a good time. There's been, I've heard some really cool things from people saying how we're like the Goldilocks zones of community gaming, right? Like because we're we have really good strong structure, but we're also willing to have a good time, and it's like this good like mix of things for people, and I think that's really cool. I think it gives a lot to everyone gets to try something different.
Yeah, I've heard them use that term for us with the games that are played. Like we've got people who play like super like old school games, but also like people playing like all the newer like belonging outside belonging games and all and kind of running the gamut of all those things. So it's like, okay, no matter what kind of game you like, there's definitely the fads that pass through, and everyone kind of likes the fad thing. But like, there's someone on the server, there's someone in the community, there's someone on the show. Whether they're on the show that week, we don't know. But someone on the show has definitely played that game and knows a lot about it.
Yeah, for sure. I especially last game days was so cool. I was really lucky. Last game days I could play in 3 different games, and it was like it was a very long day of gaming, sitting in my gaming chair. But it was a ton of fun. Like I got to meet a bunch of new people. I got to play some really fun games that didn't even exist yet. I think that's one of the things I really like about it is a lot of people use game days as a way of doing good playtests with people.
Yeah.
That they also again know are safe and fun, and it's created a really neat experience. I feel like I've been part of helping people build games and help better put their stamp on it of what they want it to be. It's probably cost me a little bit more because I buy more Kickstarters now, but that's.
I'm
But
definitely,
it's really fun.
yeah, definitely not one who's gonna like dissuade people from backing Kickstarters. By the way, no, I'm just kidding. Um, So yeah, it's been fun because it started off kind of we had JackerCon, which is like once a year, like in the summer we had just like this one big like weekend of gaming, and then people would kind of do their own games, or a little bit here and there, and then um, yeah, it was just something that people kind of seemed to want, and like, hey, can we do? It was something people had requested a couple times, so we started it a couple years ago, and it's been great to see how successful it's been, and it's neat because like some months there's more, and some months there's less. Like some months we'll have 3 games that day, some months we'll have like 12 games, because it's based on like people's availability, and obviously some months are busier than others. Um, Actually, we should do like a breakdown and be like the history of it. Like maybe there's more people who play in winter months, things like that. I wonder if there's some sort of like, reasoning to like the numbers at some point. But
Don't challenge me to make a spreadsheet. Don't do that because I will.
spreadsheets are our love language, Verk. This is how
Yeah, it's
this
true.
is how we show affection. We make spreadsheets.
It's true.
Um, it's too bad because my 5-year-old really doesn't get that. She's like, Mom, what? I'm just kidding. I don't
Just
make.
give it time. Next thing you know, for her birthday, you're going to get like a whole stack of spreadsheets.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great.
Lots of
Ah,
pivot tables.
yeah. Oh man. But yeah, no, it's been neat to see it kind of flourish and become it's kind of its own thing, and like it because whenever you start things as like someone like who has a community they're trying to like organize and provide things for, you always start off with like, okay, this here's the first one. I did a lot of, and then from there it kind of grows and it takes on its own kind of spirit and vibe, and I just love game days has kind of this very chill hangout atmosphere. Like I've attended a lot of online events, and sometimes it's very like official feeling, and it's like, oh, okay, we started this, we do this, here are the tools, and like we have all those things, and everyone's great about. I mean, it's honestly like the most low maintenance, like as far as like from our standpoint as organizers, like everyone's just super cool. Like I think we've had one time where there was like one issue, and it wasn't even like a malicious thing, it was like, and even the person who reported it to us on the Discord was like, this isn't malicious, but like, and like, so we just handled it, and it was both player people were cool with it, and they went on playing and all those things, and it's been just been cool, and it's been so neat to see how many people come back and do it again and again.
For sure. It's I know some people play literally every time. Like every time they have it, they run something, they play in something. Like it's a big part for them, and that's super cool. I love that. It's funny because I remember when I first started watching the show, whenever the heck that was, 13 years ago or whatever.
Long time.
I remember talking about JackerCon,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, that sounds so cool." I had never been to a game convention. I barely knew what the dice were, but like it sounded so fascinating to me. I never got to play though; it was never a thing I could do. But then, as things changed more and more, I was finally able to like meet some of you and other things that were connected to it. And next thing you know, like I'm participating in them and I'm doing things with them. And Captain Kurt is running a fantastic JackerCon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's cool to see that it's melded into this. That happens so much more regularly. Every other month is so nice. Honestly, like we might have to start doing it every month, considering how much people we get to this thing
I
soon. You know
know.
what I mean? We'll see. We'll see
We'll
what
see.
happens. But
Yeah.
like it's the last one was so good. There were so many people, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I really like also that everyone comes at it with the idea that they want to meet new people and play new games.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's not cliquish, right? There's not like, like certain groups only play with certain people,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. Like I think everyone has their favorite GMs. I think it's just part of life, and so
Yeah.
they'll try to jump on those right away. But I like other than that, I think everyone plays together. I think it's really cool, and it really is the gambit. Last time uh, I played in games like as crunchy as Wrath and Glory,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to as light as something that wasn't. I think it was Blowing Outside Belonging was
Mm-hmm.
the system that it used. So like it's just always different and fun, and I love that.
Yeah. And then a few of them, like someone ran Mage, a Mage
Yeah,
game. Like I don't know if it was the last
I
one. It might
played
have
in
been the
that.
one before that. Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like that's what I mean. Like like we're like the buffet that really has everything. Like literally everything. And it's great that they all manage to fit in, like the play culture too. And I think it really shows how it's more about who you play with and how you play with them than necessarily specifically the system. Because there have
Hmm.
been games I've played for game days and other things that have been like, oh, I don't know if this system's for me, but I want to try it, and then it like had a great time, and maybe I'll never play that particular system again, but managed to have a great time because of who was there and how it was run in a way that was like
Hmm.
thoughtful and safe and inclusive.
If not for Derek on the Discord, I would have never touched anything, vampire in any way, shape, or form, because it terrified me. But Derek gave it such a nice, easy way into it, and
Mhm.
he's run a World of Darkness game of some variant almost every game days, and they're always so good. But yeah, like I would have never touched it otherwise. I was so afraid to start trying something.
Yeah, no,
But I
yeah.
know I can trust these people.
Totally. I think the biggest problem we have with it, and hopefully some people out there listening can help with it, is like the Happy Jacks Discord has too many GMs. Like we're
Yes.
very GM centric, so we always end up having like more people wanting to run games than we have people to play in games. So if this is not you, if you are a player only, don't worry, you'll probably end up running something eventually if you join the Discord. Everyone ends up like, oh, I'm just gonna play, and then like 3 game days later, like I'm gonna run this, and we're like, great. Do you want to play in something too? So it's like the best problem to have. We just have like this embarrassment of riches with so many amazing GMs. But yeah, that's always the fun thing too, to see new people come on the server and be like, "Oh, I just wanted to play," and it's like, "Okay, great." Uh, and then like three game days later, they've like they've been bitten by the GMing bug and are just like, "Okay, I'm gonna run this weird little game that I found on this strange server somewhere and downloaded for free or whatever." It's just amazing.
It's true. I think my ultimate goal is that we can be like Tomes and like, it's go to the somewhere who knows where and show up with like 50 different games that are written by 100 different people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that. And one of the nice things is because we have so many GMs, even when a lot of us are like, "Hey, this gives us a chance to play finally."
Hmm.
Like I know that's for me. I am almost exclusively run for my friends.
Yeah.
So if I want to play, I play on the internet and I play with usually Happy Jacks people. And that's the other cool thing is we keep getting influxes from other communities
Hmm.
that come into play because someone's connected to someone who knows someone, and then the next thing you know, a game, happens in game days, and then they stick around, and then another one. I'm currently playing in a Star Wars, a small Star Wars West End Games
Hmm.
version
I love
with
that.
people. Yeah, super fun. I had never played it before, playing first edition.
Mm.
Space combat's terrible, but the rest of the game is amazing.
Yeah.
But like it, Mike was the person who's like, yeah, let's run it. Like I can do that. And the next thing you know, we built a game and it happened just from a conversation on the Discord. And then I don't know, it's really fun. It's a really fun place to be and play games online.
Yeah.
And I live in Washington D.C. There's not a ton of conference like game things out here, and I don't know a ton of people either. So it's nice to have a place where I know I can go and play games, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way.
Yeah. One thing I really love about it is that it's separate than like the shows we do. Like the community has like channels about the show, but there's some people who are in the Discord who are very active members of the community who have never listened or watched to any of our shows. And that's totally
Mhm.
fine. And I love that because it feels like no, okay, don't worry, no time soon, there's no plans, but like at some point we probably will not do shows. Like at some point, like maybe my 5-year-old will eventually be in college and will want to move some. I like who knows. Like, but it's nice to know that this.
No, Kimmy, you're not allowed.
You're
Just
not
so we're
allowed
clear, I want this on the record now. No.
forever. But like, it's nice to know that there's this amazing community that will hopefully like continue and outlive like the content we produce, because the content is like an addition to the community, not and how the community started, but it is no longer like the central core of the community. And that's why I like it so much, because there's so many Discord servers about shows or actual plays out there where it's like so heavily restricted, and it's kind of like an advertisement, I don't know, or like like an extension of the show. And that's great. It serves a fantastic purpose, marketing stuff. Personally, I'm like way I don't know, I'm much more chill than that, and I love me like having this community is the most important part of doing the shows and stuff. Like I honestly like we started doing actual plays and stuff like that for my community of friends because I loved that. I'm just like I love community more than spreadsheets actually. So I just keep building these things. It's like these groups and like I did the shows to kind of build this community in real life, and I love that the love I have for those people has kind of extended to like this internet realm in a weird way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
100% it makes sense.
I don't know.
I think Kimmy, that's one of the best things about this in general. I think anyone that's had a chance to touch on the Happy Jacks community has been um, at the very least impressed with it. It may not be exactly for them or whatever, and that's fine, but I think everyone at least has a connection to it and they feel that inclusiveness, right? Like they want people, we want friends, we want people to play with. I remember the first time I showed up at a Strategicon, I was so nervous about the situation because I walked in, I didn't know any of you really. I'd listened to you for 5 years or whatever, but I didn't know anyone. And I sat down at a table and I was like, "Hi, I listened to the podcast," and it was like, "Great, you're in. Come, enjoy. Let's play the game. Come have a beer afterwards." Like it was such a quick, instant. We want you here. We want to play games with you. We want to be your friend. It was great.
Yeah,
It was really neat.
yeah. I think it's the. I mean, that's what it really was. Like, it was a bunch of friends who started doing games, and then we started doing a podcast, and then it's sort of just kind of kept circling out from there. And I think it's one of the big benefits of us not like having day jobs and not having this want to be like a replacement career. Like, it's literally about us having fun and meeting new people and bringing new people in and playing games. And I don't know, there's something very chill about that and kind of I don't know, I feel like the word wholesome is sort of like overused nowadays in gaming. Like everybody wants their like whimsical and wholesome games, they're very in, but I don't know, there's something cool about just yeah, sure, absolutely, come hang out with us, it's cool, like in like a non-performative way, like yeah, cool, let's have a beer, let's hang out, let's play a game. Oh my god, have you played this game? Oh, you run this game. Oh, can I try that sometime? Like I don't know, we're all fucking nerds, and it's just great to like just keep nerding with each other.
Yeah,
Cause
and we all have this shared history, right? Like it's the shared history of gaming, this shared hobby, this shared like big thing. Not many people play role-playing games as like, oh, I play that every once in a while. Like it's not that important to me. I don't actually care. It's like most people that play role-playing games are really into them. Like it is a very strong nerddom, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think that's cool, and I think it brings out usually the best in people.
yeah, I think it's great too because so many people are kind of like locked in places where maybe because it is something that is it's pretty niche still. Like people have it's expanded so much since we started, but it's interesting. There's still so many people who are in places where there aren't other people uh, who they can game with, or they've they live in a small town and had a falling out with the three other gamers in the town and stuff like that. Like we've gotten those
Yeah.
emails. So then like it gives everyone a place to come and every other month play a couple games, and it's not the same as like an ongoing campaign necessarily, but it fits in our busy lives and gives people a group of really cool people that show up on their computer every month. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think I quoted this last time, but a friend said that she's like, my home group is for busting down the doors. My online friends are for when I want to kiss someone in RPG, right? Like it's that same, that I love that mentality of like, I have this split part of my gaming life, and I know I mean, that's how I am too. My home game is very trad focused. We play really complex games over long periods of time and bigger campaigns. And then like my game days ones are like the character sheets are holding you back, man. you
yeah,
know?
seriously, make them kiss.
Yes.
Can I have a very angsty crush on this other character? Oh, there are no mechanics for it. Can I do it anyway? Yes, you can.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I totally get it.
it was funny. You mentioned this is completely a side point, but
This is
it's
fine.
what the show's about.
Yeah.
You mentioned about how it's spreading out to more and more people. This friend of my wife's actually called me the other day, and she's like, So here's the thing. I want to GM a game for my boyfriend. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I have no idea how to do that. Can you help me?
That's amazing! Yay!
It was really funny though. Like she had played like 3 times or something. It was like, I could do this. I can GM. And then she started doing. She's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she only knew D&D. And it was like a whole thing. And like, but it was really adorable. And it was so cool to see how much the hobby has spread in so many ways to people that you'd never think in a million years would play or would be interested in it. And then they get the taste of it and they're like, oh yeah, I'm in. I'm so in, and I'm gonna GM.
That's awesome. I like almost added myself at work the other day. A coworker, because I am very careful to separate like podcast nerdy weirdness from my teaching because even though I teach in LA, I teach in a like pretty conservative part of LA. Um, and I just don't want any of that drama. I want to be able to do whatever I want on my nerd life and like still be a great teacher, but those things are very separate to me. So I've never talked about this hobby and stuff with my work friends. Um, and I was just, we were hanging out, like we were doing like a staff birthday thing. And this coworker who I've worked with for a while, and our kids are going to go to school together and stuff like that. So we've become a little more friendly, but I like don't know where she stands on a lot of things still because that's just not a thing you bring up during lunch when you teach for, and you only have like 20 minutes to eat because we're teachers. So she like starts talking about her husband has gotten really into Dungeons and Dragons, and she's trying to figure out like, oh, I think I should get him something. So like at first I'm cool, and I'm trying to, oh, that's interesting. Oh, well maybe you could do, and then I like just keep talking, and then eventually it becomes very clear I know a lot about this subject, like a ridiculous amount about this particular subject. Now in gaming circles I am not a D&D expert. In a random group of teachers I am the most of a D&D expert. I am like the just absolute D&D expert.
Hmm.
And she's just like, after a minute I realized I've been talking for about 2.5 minutes straight just giving her different advice, and she's just, everyone at the table is just kind of looking at me, and it's not quite the like puppy like head tilt. What? Like, and I was like, oh yeah, and I like very quickly like added. She's like, do you play D&D a lot? And I was like, I didn't lie because I said no, I don't really play D&D. I play some other games. Fade into the, and so I was like, so I gave her like, I was like, oh, if you go here, there's this game, there's a gaming store here, and there's a gaming store here. You can get, if you go there and ask them for stuff, they can probably. She's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. I was like, yeah. Oh, I gotta grade my kindergarten test. I'm gonna go.
You were 100% the talk when they all left. Like when
A
you left that break
hundred.
room, everybody was like, "What?"
100%. Like, what was that? I mean, like, they all know I'm a huge nerd, so it probably wasn't like the most surprising thing. Like, definitely more surprising things have happened. But yeah, that was definitely, they were like, oh, we learned a thing about her.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand keeping life separate.
Yeah.
Like it is definitely a thing. Like my work life and my, other life, I'm like, no, not never shall they combine. Um, but I've had some experience, especially with Zoom, of like where it comes on and it's like, you have some elf background or something, your name is, unpronounceable, and they're like, what?
Yeah. No, I absolutely did that, especially when we were teaching online for a while. Like, I'd have to be really careful about switching my name back in the morning sometimes when we were doing online games, and then I was going to teach 36 fourth graders. Like, it's like, luckily, fourth graders are not super observant people. I'm just going to, it's not a judgment, it's just a fact. So, like, Nanelani, they're like, who, I don't know, okay. Math time, friends. Okay. But yeah, so that was very, very interesting this week. Oh, it's weird because I don't even go by Kim either. I go by like a different. I
Oh,
go, yeah,
really?
I go by Kim. So I like really because I don't want them to be able to Google Kimmy because like or anything. Like I don't want any of that. So it's like
It's very smart,
yeah,
actually.
100%. It's a little less stressful now that I'm working with kindergartners, but when I was working with fourth graders, it was like I would now know when they Googled me because I know what my one name is and what the and what results they get from my one name, and then I know what results they get from my other name, and it's like, oh, I am super boring as far as you know. But someday someone would have done it. But kindergartners, nah.
it's probably a good thing I couldn't Google like my teachers when I was that age. You know what I mean? Like Google didn't exist. Like it was you didn't know anything about your teachers outside of school, you know?
No, yeah. It's it was wild. So I was very careful. Like the only yeah, they couldn't out nerd me. I was very been like scientific from the beginning of keeping the two things separate. Um but yeah, there were definitely teachers who did not a lot. There's a lot of stories on the internet of teachers who were like, "But I thought those pictures of myself were private on Facebook." No? Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's very sad. Um but but luckily, or not luckily, like kids are getting worse at Googling stuff because, now AI just spits out all the information, quote, that they need. So now they don't actually see anything. So, but that's a discussion for another depressing time. Uh,
Next mailbag
yeah,
is AI. How is ruining your life?
yeah. Ah, so much. Oh my gosh. Actually, one of my friends had a problem with it this week. He owns a couple game stores, and he messaged me. He's like, "I'm really upset. Can you talk on the phone?" And like, I'm like, our generation of friends, like if they want to talk on the phone, something is very wrong. Like we are
Right.
the texting, like chatty generation. Like unless I am dying, I probably just want to text with you, even if I really love you. So like when he was like, "Can I call you?" I was like, "Oh shit, yes, okay."
Yeah,
So
right.
he calls, and um he has these adventures he has that he sells in his stores, and they're like part of like this campaign program he has, but you can also buy them and like take them home. I forget exactly how it all works. um he's been paying this dude a couple $1,000s to be writing these, and the first couple like editions of them or whatever, um like no problem. Then he'd since discovered like for like over a year now, all the ones he's been paying for have been almost completely chat GTP. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I would lose my
yeah. He
mind.
was really upset. So like he's gonna like have to do legal issues with it and all these other things, because now he's like he has to like he basically has to trash them all because he can't get like a copyright on them, because he has no idea how much this person wrote and how much is not. He also has no idea because they're D&D aligned, so he doesn't know if like the references in them like actually reference the correct pages, if they're actually accurately like balanced for the parties or any of that stuff. He was like, oh my god, he was so upset. I felt so bad for him, but yeah. So it
I,
was, yeah,
I I'd lose my mind. I
yeah.
would
He
actually lose my
he
mind.
was super angry. But yeah, it's I don't know why like also like it was just like the dumbest move ever by this other person, because this other person, I don't want to say their name because like it's still all kind of like hearsay, and there might be legal action involved. I don't know, but like is also like writes games and publishes games, and I'm like, why are you gonna like rip off one of the most influential retailers who like has this big like who like literally like organizes other retailers? Like that's not a smart move. Like, and he knew he wasn't supposed to, like it wasn't like he came to him or like, "Hey, can I do this?" And he was like, "Yes or no." Like he literally just went on their original agreement and then just started using it and then tried to hide it, so he clearly knew it was not right. And he's like, "Well, I don't see it as a problem." It's like, well, if you didn't see it as a problem, why did you try and hide that you were doing it? It was like the 5-year old, like, "I didn't think it was wrong. In my opinion, it's not wrong." I'm like, well, you hid all the cookies under your bed. So clearly you knew that you shouldn't be doing it. Like, anyway, yeah, it's just awful. It is so just like frustrating as someone who's like writing a game and trying to deal with making a game with all the tariffs and stuff right now. I'm just like, and these people got this person got paid like quite a lot of money, like an amount of money I would not say no to for writing things, like to make these things, and it was just like it's just so upsetting. I was like, oh my god, I was upset, and I like don't even know either of these people, like or the person who ripped him off, and it's like, oh, so frustrating. But I think it's just gonna
Like
happen more and more.
yeah, I get writer's block. I understand the concept of like, oh, I need something to give me a push in the right direction or something. Maybe, okay. But like writing adventures, like doing all kind of stuff, it's so unethical. It's like I don't it just blows my mind. And they're getting paid for it.
Yeah. Like
Wow.
like 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 money, like writing money, not like flesh out this idea, like okay, like I hate all iterations of AI because of how bad it is for the environment. But I guess if someone is like, give me a list of 3 possible adventure titles or something, like, okay, fine. And then if you actually go do the writing, fine. Like, I can see it as like maybe a creative like jog of or something like that. Like some people go to a museum, some people watch TV, whatever. Like if that's your thing, there are probably worse criminal things you can do. But like having it like he legit like was having it right, like pages and pages and pages, and then going through and supposedly tweaking it. But we like at that point, how do you know? It's like, yeah. Anyway, so it's
And there's a certain point when you're tweaking something, right?
mm-hmm.
You're going through it and you're like, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
It's midnight. That looks good. We'll see that whole section there, you know?
yeah,
Like, wow.
yeah. It,
I
it,
don't
it makes me especially mad because I'm such a rule follower, and the one time I plagiarized, I totally got caught, and it was in okay. So to my defense, it was a ridiculous assignment. It's an assignment that I still hate to this day. It was in a science for teachers course, and
Mm.
like the most of the course was about how to teach science. It wasn't like the scientific concepts. We'd already passed all those classes. So and then like I don't know if the professor was just like bored or needed another grade, but uh he had us write a report about an animal as if we were like fourth graders. And I was like it was like getting close to finals. I had a bunch of other classes that were really hard. And I got like, it was like 2 in the morning. It was also during fair season when I used to do Renaissance Fair. So I was like not sleeping. I was also student teaching at the time. So like I was teaching all day, not getting paid for it, taking classes in the evening and doing Ren Fair on the weekends. And I was almost as tired as I am right now. But like I got through most of this like it was supposed to be like 3 page report or something. I forget what it was. And I was just like, I hate those things that are like pretend like you're a student. I'm like, no, how about you pretend I'm an adult and you just let me be an adult and let me imagine what it would be like for a student to experience this, not like
hmm
actually do a third or like a fourth grade assignment. And I got through most of it and I finally it was like 2:30 in the morning. I had class in like 6 hours or something, and it was just like awful. And I just like copied a paragraph and rewrote it a little bit. Like it was like 4 sentences of one paragraph of this stupid red tail hawk report. And I like, sure enough, like I turn it in and like 2 days later, I get an email from my professor saying I need to talk to him. And I go in and he's like, so, and he brings it up. It's all printed and like part of it's highlighted, like all the copied parts. And I was just like, yep, I did that. I'm teaching. I'm working weekends. I'm exhausted. I already passed fourth grade. I'm really sorry. I'm a very ethical person. He's like, okay, that's fine. He didn't report me. I was like, but I feel like it was like partially because I owned up to it. Like, yes. And like, I don't know. If the whole thing had been stolen, maybe he would have held me more accountable. But I also like still like am stressed out enough about it. Like decades later, I'm now talking about it on a podcast. So it's not like it had no effect.
It might be time to let it go.
It might be.
I'm
It might
just
be
putting it
time.
out there, maybe.
I don't know, those 4 sentences I plagiarized about a red tail hawk, one assignment. I should have just written
They're going to
them.
make you retake fourth grade. That's what's going to happen.
Oh
You're
my
just going to have to
God.
retake fourth grade.
I would be so great at it now. I would be amazing. After teaching it for like 8 years, I would be the best fourth grader. Okay. Anyway, we should probably get to the second email.
There's emails?
There's emails. What? Robin from the UK, thank you so much. We're thrilled that you found like what we have what we love so much to also be something that you've loved. So yay! Hopefully you play more games again, and hopefully I can play in one sometime. That'd be amazing. All right, mailbag number 2. You picked the really short one. Okay, go.
I I can't help it. I was fast
You
on
were.
the draw.
You were.
Actually, it's fine. If you want to read this one, I can read the next one.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, mailbag 2. Hey, Happy Jackers. A shorty, but a goodie. Hopefully. A couple of us were talking in the Discord about old settings whose original rule sets are just too clunky when it comes to how we play today. This got me thinking, What games were released before 2000 do you think are ripe to be reworked and to bring them up to date with modern design? I think the mutation rules in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and other strangeness, and a lot of other ideas of the GURPS goblins could be great given a major overhaul. Any other tickle your nostalgia bone? How would you adapt them? Carlos from Detroit.
Oh, it's interesting because there's a difference between like thinking a setting should be updated and like having like a nostalgic love for something and actually thinking it's worthy of an update. So
Yes.
I don't know. There's see the thing is I disagree. Like maybe parts of like the GURPS like content, but the actual GURPS system, I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do. I'm not sure you could update it in a way that wouldn't just break it because it's supposed to be super generic, super crunchy. Like that's the point of it. And I love the fact that like it's a little bit different from everything else because you're rolling low rather than rolling high. But
Mhm.
I don't know how you would change that in a way that would make it make it better and make it but without changing like the entire point of it.
Yeah, I feel yes, very much. Settings in general or systems in general, GURP, Savage Worlds, hero system, right? Like those are what they are. Like they are big, meaty tomes of math, and that's what they want to be, and that's awesome. And if you want to know exactly how much damage you have falling down 7 stairs on a sunny Sunday, whatever, great. Rock on. That's exactly what you want, and it's there for you.
Mm-hmm.
But Carlos mentioned like they say setting here, right?
That's
So
true.
I'm wondering if they mean more of Forgotten Realms versus, but then they do say mutation rules for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's probably a little bit of both, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I started the hobby in 2005. So I have very little nostalgia for old systems. I've done a lot of research on them. I've
Mm-hmm.
read a ton of them because I hate myself, and I have, I've learned a lot about these other systems, and some of them are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Some of their settings are terrible, but others are really interesting. Specifically, Traveler, which I've been recently kind of reading and running and diving deeper into. I think those settings have a ton of legs. They're big and they're deep, and you can go as far down that rabbit hole as you want. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about Traveler is just how much there is. And you can go online and there's Traveler maps that like match up with everything and they could just go forever. And you could find these planets and I've used those Traveler maps for other sci-fi random unnamed other sci-fi games that I've run. But because there is so much there. And you can go and they're like 3D and they're like you could try like actually see this whole star systems and stuff like that. They are amazing, and I just really yeah I have a very close fondness for Traveler personally. um, yeah no it's yeah go ahead keep talking because that was going to be one of my answers but you can keep going.
No, no. The other one is a lot of the ones that I feel like have a lot of legs, have a lot of like things that people want to talk about, is stuff that has gotten upgrades. Or,
Yeah.
like Call of Cthulhu, like their stuff has been upgraded every 5 or 6 years. It keeps following that setting. Even Traveler, I guess, has had, updates as they go.
Sorry that
Obviously
face.
Dungeons and Dragons and
Yeah.
all their plethora of settings. Although some of them are still stuck in, in the olden times, right? Like we haven't seen an Eberron setting in 5e or 5e 2024 or whatever the heck the new one's called. 5e.5 or whatever. It really bugs me that they can't pick a name. Like it really bugs me and I
Right.
don't like it.
Well, it wasn't.
But anyway,
Yeah, it wasn't like fifth edition supposed to be like D&D Next or something, or maybe that I don't know. Maybe that was
yeah.
fourth edition. I don't know. They keep doing and D&D Next is so much more interesting than fifth edition, and I feel like it's something that's I don't know the branding. I guess I'm not a branding expert, but I feel like the people at Dungeons and Dragons might not be either. I don't know.
I, that's very true. But yeah, I know there's actually this whole sub thing at WotC that I've heard about of how Dungeons and Dragons has never had an official edition number, right? Like they never call it like it's never supposed to be called the current edition is never supposed to be called Dungeons and Dragons X. It should
Really?
also always just be called Dungeons and Dragons, and then once the next edition goes by, then they'll start calling it by their old name. And like so it's like if you look at like the covers and stuff, like none of them ever say like 3.5 on them or whatever, like these things. They do later on when things change, but it's a whole weird deal. But anyway, it's all stupid.
So yeah,
But
no, yeah, now that you mentioned that, like I think I've heard that before too from people, and it seems like the strangest thing, and like the worst, just the worst choice for branding. Like, come on, you want brand recognition, but yeah,
and
it's wild.
nobody does it.
No,
Everyone calls it by edition.
yeah, it's just like just lean into that. Like I don't know, uh, I don't know.
Most of us don't even call it Dungeons and Dragons. You just call it by the edition. Oh, I
Yeah,
played 4E.
yeah,
They were like, oh yeah, like Dungeons
party,
and Dragons
yeah.
4E. I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you say fifth edition in a gaming room, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. Definitely not
Mhm.
Traveler fifth edition. Like nobody thinks of
No.
that,
I
unless you're
guess
maybe
there's
at
some
a.
vampire people out there that think that maybe, like they think of Vampire 5e maybe, but I
I
don't
feel
know.
like you'd have to be at a vampire specific convention to, or a
Yeah.
traveler specific convention to have anybody's at. Which, like, honestly, the Traveler fifth edition was a hot mess. Like, such a hot mess. We were so excited about getting that book, and I think it ended up balancing one of Stu's tables because it was like massive and heavy and hard to find, like terribly laid out. And a lot of the improvements didn't really seem that great. Um, One of the overall systems I'd love to have uh, just simplified. Like I feel like um, oh yeah, V5 is Vampire 5th edition, not
Ah, that's
5e.
right.
That's true.
That's
That's
right.
you're absolutely true. Thank you so much, Steffi. But I feel like I would love to see Savage Worlds get a little bit of an update. Like I love like the core game at the heart of Savage World was one of the first games that I played like a whole lot of, so I really have a lot of nostalgia for playing those games. But I feel like it's a little clunky, and I feel like with a few modern tweaks, it could really just kind of clean up things a little bit. Because I remember, like a lot of times when I've played at cons or when I was first playing the system, we had these like mats that had like all the rules and stuff on them, which I think is fantastic for everything. But we really like needed
Yes.
them. It was something that you really, really needed to remember exactly which dice and like make your dice pools and stuff like that. And then I think there's cool stuff with the wild die that lead to like really great dramatic moments that are some of my favorite moments ever in campaigns. But again, like I just feel like that it's like at the time it felt like it was revolutionary when I first started playing it. It was so amazing, but I feel like things have streamlined in design, and maybe it's just even like a book design. I know there have been a couple updates, but I feel like that's something that really could could use a little bit of like an editorial eye, and it could be a really interesting, updated version of the system.
Adventures Edition, the newest one,
Yeah,
is really did clean up some things in the rules, I thought. I
that's
think
good.
they did a nice job of changing some things. I mean, I can't even tell you when that one came out. It's getting old long in the tooth
Yeah.
now. But it's Savage Worlds a lot of ways feels like a relic of what it came from, and it hasn't changed a ton.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that is hard to play. I recently had I like Savage Worlds. I want to be clear. I like Savage Worlds. Erica, don't hurt me. Um, but there is I ran a very long Deadlands game
Hmm.
with my friends. And at the end of it, they said, wow, that was super fun, but I felt like nothing ever happened unless my dice exploded.
Hmm.
And even though that isn't true, I think that's the impression that they got, and I think that's definitely a failing. And I
Hmm.
think stuff like that could be fixed.
Yeah.
Make things faster, better, stronger. I don't know, you
Yeah.
know. But I'm not a game designer, so
Yeah, and part of that's like Jason has talked about it a bunch of times, so I won't dive into it. But like the dice percentages and stuff, and the rolling of it, um, the bell curves for different things are are very different. So I feel like that's part of like what looking at it with a critical eye really could kind of even out and make it so, because I don't want to take away those big moments because those are really fun. I really like those moments. Like the exploding moments where things like, oh, like, wow, you do it so well. Um, but like, again, if the rest of the time you're not succeeding at all, that ends up for a pretty flat vibing campaign. And yeah, of course those moments stand out then because those are the only times you're succeeding. So yeah, you're definitely going to remember them then. So I think that is definitely one of the, kind of the flaws in the system. But it does capture things really well. Like it does, I love how it does like Wild West stuff, and Deadlands is like a great example of that. And it tends to do pulp stuff really well. So I love that. That's when I've GM'd it, it's usually been like the pulp type settings.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's good. I know there's a huge following on our Discord for it. Like
yeah.
there's a ton of people that play all the time, and love every minute of it. And I think it's good. Like I do think it's good. I think that's been my so slight tangent, as always.
Mm.
My plan for 2025 was I am going to have the most story-driven year. I'm going to play only hippie games. I don't even want to see dice this year. Instead, somehow this became trad year for me. I don't know what happened. So I've been playing like all these really intense trad games over this last year so far.
Mm.
And my big takeaway from all this has been old games are still good.
Yeah.
Like we sometimes forget as we go on to new things, we try new stuff, we're like, oh yeah, well there's all those tables and this and that. It's like tables are actually kind of fun. Like when you start using tables again, they're actually kind of fun. It brings in this really interesting randomness to the game that brings out a lot of interesting things. Having a lot of skills to pick from can be fun. Traveler's thing where you can take your skill and your attribute and combine them and like roll the amount of dice, like that is fun.
Yeah.
Those things are all actually fun.
Yeah.
We just want all the new bells and whistles still connected to the fun, and I think that's the hard thing that's happening here is that a lot of these old systems have really fun things in them, and instead of being like, oh well, maybe I can just tweak it myself, we were like, oh, we want something different or we want to do whatever. And I think that's a really cool thing that Carlos is saying is like, what could use an overhaul, what could you do to make that better, that kind of thing. And I think it's all out there. I think hand wavium is a wonderful tool that we don't use enough for older systems to play them again because I think they're really cool.
Man. Steffi just shared a thing in the quote. It's like sings to my heart. Tables are just small spreadsheets. I love it.
That's why I like
That's
them.
why I like them.
Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I really like them too because a lot of times they give me ideas. Even if I don't actually roll on the table, if I'm just looking at the table, sometimes I'll pull ideas that I never would have thought of before, or something that wouldn't have just popped to mind. I'm like, oh, this seems like a neat, fun thing. So I love like random generator stuff. I've talked so many times about how much I love the Traveler character creation mechanics. I've mostly played Mongoose Traveler, but yeah, I really enjoy that system. I really enjoy. I enjoy the granular level of it. As someone who I love sci-fi, but I don't worry about like the specific, like like how much damage does this do myself when I'm watching things. Like I know there's many people who watch Star Trek and worry about exactly how much damage a phaser would do and all those things. Um, like that's never been me. It's fun sometimes to dive in and have all that there. And I don't usually play a
Mhm.
character when I play it that really jumps in on that at a really granular level. But I sometimes have been forced into characters that I would never, but by the character generation system that I wouldn't have made on my own. That I end up really enjoying the experience of doing something that's a little bit outside of my box. So I actually feel, in many ways, like Traveler has a lot of the elements that more modern games have of this.
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna push you we're gonna use safety tools, but we're gonna use we're gonna push you past this. We're gonna make you make really difficult choices that are really specific to your character and things like that. And I feel like there's a through line there that a lot of people don't recognize, or just because they haven't maybe played both types of systems. But I find trad games, when run by someone who can do both, like a insert gif here of both. Um, like they have more DNA in common than not. I feel like the big disconnect often is when people are like the kind of like the traditional grognard, and they're like, I'm sorry, you cannot have romantic intentions with other people in the party, or I'm sorry, let's please stop speaking to my experience points, like things like that. And like it becomes like the dungeon crawler where you're just killing everything. And I feel like it's a play style difference mostly than actually like a design level difference.
1,000,000%. And I think especially a lot of newer gamers or people that have completely committed to the story game mentality look very negatively on old systems or even more tried newer systems in a way of superiority, or like this is no longer good.
Mm-hmm.
This is now the only good. And it's like that may be true for you, right? Rock on. If that's the kind of game you want to play, excellent. But I know a ton of very story gamers that play very trad games in a very story way.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, like I don't know about you, but the way I play trad games now is I play everything degrees of success. I don't play binary like win, loss, success, fail on any dice rolls ever. Ever again will I ever do that.
Yeah.
It's all degrees of success.
Yeah.
PBTA taught me that, and I now use that for everything. And that change alone changes games so much.
Mm-hmm.
We had someone in the Discord recently talking about how they felt a little bit like they felt a little attacked because people were talking about their games and the games that they liked as being inferior, or they don't play that game because of X. And it's like that's totally true. That can be that for you. But it also, you have no idea how they play at their table.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have no idea what percentage of rules they're playing with. Like if someone's playing raw GURPS, like okay, yeah, that person they're making a life choice. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be part of that life choice. But like, that's still good for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I think like with anything, like people like being part of their group, and if they're part of like the story gamers group, it's sometimes hard for them to also see value in other games. And a lot of people haven't done all of it. A lot of people, like, I mean, it constantly amazes me how many gamers I run into at conventions and things like that who have been gaming for 20, 30, sometimes almost 40 years, and they've never played anything but Dungeons and Dragons. And I mean, like, it's really, really common. And they go to conventions where lots of other games are there as options, and they just choose specifically not to. So it is always very interesting, like I am a Dungeons and Dragons player versus like the people who try lots of different TTRPGs, and I feel like the whole hobby would be better for that if they did. So I don't know. It's interesting. One thing I also I'm really liking, and I'm excited. I'm playing Electric State, the Freely game, pretty soon. But I've really liked kind of the merging of kind of like new wave, like improv and story driven elements with old school mechanics that I've been seeing from Free League and their other games. Like our One Ring campaign, we were able to tell the very beautiful, like what I would consider a modern quote, like again using that term very, very loosely, game story that I would expect to see in any like story focused or narrative system, that had a lot of character interactions, things like that, big, you know, character arcs, all those things that definitely appear in old things too. I don't want in old systems too. I don't want to say that those don't, but that seems to be more the focus of more modern design. I think is kind of where most people land with like combat and like the stats being like the more trad route, even though they can again tell just as good stories. And I feel like there's this cool kind of marriage that's happening with some of the games now from Free League and others that have a little bit more crunch to them, but also have those really cool, like the journey mechanic is one of the things I loved in One Ring. That was tables, yay, small spreadsheets, um, that like gave you these neat options, and it was basically just these that led you to a specific like prompt that then you created as a group, which is a cool kind of balance of those two things.
I read The One Ring before you ran your game,
Mhm.
and I was so 100% convinced I thought the travel mechanics were dumb. I read them and I'm like, this sounds terrible. I have no interest in this. And then you read it and I'm like, oh, actually, that's really nice.
I thought the same thing. Like I dedicated myself to running that game because I'm such a Lord of the Rings fan. And then I got the book and I was reading and I was like, what have I done? What have I done to myself? I started panicking. I was like, oh God, okay, you've dedicated. I started looking for alternative rules online. Like even in session 0, if you listen to it, like I announced we're going to use the modified rules that I found in some like Discord server to run the combats because I was convinced the combats were going to be a nightmare. And then like we did it, and yeah, it ended up going like well. And like in between then the session 0 and session 1, like I was talking and everyone was like, well, let's try the as written, because it's like, okay, we'll try it and then we'll switch. And then we ended up liking it. And the same thing with the journey mechanic. I thought that was ridiculous, over design. And then it ended up being one of my favorite things that I then incorporated a version of into my game Starscape as I'm writing it, because it was so neat and helpful, but still felt organic in a cool way. So I really loved that. Um, Getting back to the email, there's, I loved playing L5R,
Mm.
and I had such great memories of that. And looking back, I've learned and grown, and that was a really long time ago. Now it was over a decade ago, significantly over a decade ago. Um, And I would love to see, and I know they've been working with uh, different BIPOC creators and specifically people from the Asian community to make it, like upgrade it, make it better. But I would love to see like a true, thorough reworking of that, maybe even like disconnected from their past like Rokugan and stuff, because there are so many problematic elements of that, particularly like have a new Legend of the Five Rings or something similar to that in a world that was kind of created from the ground up by creators with that heritage, because I would love to. I have really fond memories of playing in that and nostalgia for it. I recognize the problems with it, but I would love to have more adventures in that type of setting that was written in a way that I could feel good about playing and wasn't like exploitative.
Yeah, that's a great call, actually. I feel very similar. I think Legend of the Fire Rings was a fantastic system built on a interesting setting until you understand all the other things connected to it, for sure.
Right.
Um, I feel very similar about feng shui, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a system that I really enjoyed. I thought was very fun, but again, some things that really need updating. Um, the other one is I really, especially after playing it, the West End game Star Wars. I feel like you could put just a little bit of effort into that, like take out about half the skills, fix space combat, and you have a really good game there on your hands. That would, I think, would be, hands down better than the current Fantasy Flight version, which I don't hate,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel that the West End game has better bones. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. There's a new version of it coming out. Now, it's not the Star Wars one, but it kickstarted uh, my friend Alan from the game company will come to me in a moment. I've blanked. Sorry, Alan. You're my friend. I care about you. Gallant Night Games.
Mr.
There we
Allen
go.
and his game company.
Yeah, I'm like I keep thinking Green Ronin. I'm like, no, 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 that's Nicole. That's not Alan. Gallant Night Games is just at a like a Kickstarter, and they're doing like a revamp of the system. Obviously, they don't have the Star Wars IP specifically,
Hmm.
but I'm interested to see kind of how that turns out. It's a system that has a lot of nostalgia, and when I played it, it was really fun. I really liked it. But again, like I 100% agree with you about the space combat piece. That one is there are definitely messy parts to it, but space combat is also super hard. Like,
This is true.
yeah, I
This is very
think
true. There's not many good space combat. I would love for any listener to write in and say what their favorite space combat system is so I can go and steal it
yeah.
and read it and like add it to my games because
Yeah.
I cannot find one that I like.
Yeah, I feel like you need to merge the West End games with like Tachyon Squadron. I think that's what it's called. I feel
Ew,
like
that's fate.
oh, okay, no, it must not. Maybe it was. I don't know. There's one that I played. I did like a one shot of it at a like, and I loved. I didn't love anything else about the system, but I loved like the dogfights specifically. So like literally, I was sitting and playing it, and I was like, wow, these dogfights are amazing. Everything else I hate. But like, so it might have been Fate. It might have been Tachyon Squadron because I don't really like Fate very much. So it might have been just that piece. But it was really cool the way you like had like I don't know. I can't remember enough about it, but I remember loving that piece of it. So maybe we can just like surgically cut that piece out of it and like Frankenstein stitch it to to West End's game. I don't know. We'll come up with some weird, wild monster that'll be really fun, maybe or terrible. I don't know.
Some chimera of space combat. I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like yeah, it's so hard to do well, and it's just and everyone wants a different focus, and it's like as someone who's like taken a swing at this, like okay, like what do you do if everyone's in separate ships and it's like a dogfight? Okay, you also have to plan for I feel like Traveler does a good job of that, but I don't think it's separate enough from the whole Traveler system that you could then like stitch that onto like the West End games. Like that doesn't seem like that those two things don't speak with each other.
I know a lot of people, especially back in the day, used to actually like switch games when certain stuff came up, like space combat. Like they pull up Battlefleet Gothic or something else, some board game to play to fit that niche because it's such a issue.
Yeah, it's so hard to do because like battle mats are really hard for that because there's like this like 3D element of it. Like I mean, not to a person who wrote Ender's Game is a fucking asshole, but like an Ender's Game, like you always go down. Like there's no actual down in space. You know what I mean? So like having that built into a rule set somehow, so you get that. I don't know. It's just wild. So much of it, I feel like theater of the mind has great potential, but then it does limit the cool aspects of like, well, I have this kind of ship versus this kind of ship, and like, I don't know. Someday, if you know, please write in. If you have a favorite sci-fi combat system, please tell us about it because, yeah, we're still looking for the one we love the most.
Even, I mean, they even have this problem in television and movies, right? Like to make space combat interesting, right? They make it super up close and they make it basic, like planes fly like, like propeller planes, right? So
Yeah.
that it makes more sense to us watching. In reality, that would not work out well for that situation. So, it's,
Yeah.
I guess we want the moon here,
Yeah.
but
Like in Star Trek when they're like facing each other on all the same plane and it's like the Klingon ships and like the Enterprise is over here and you're just like, why are you all like exactly flat? I'm like, what is happening? Anyway, because
although I did just start watching Strange New Worlds, which is fantastically good,
love it.
and they actually use space 3D like y-axis or x-axis or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was like, finally,
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah, they do a lot of great things on that show. I love that show. All right, we should probably move on. But yeah,
I
I'm
guess
serious.
that's fair.
Yeah, I'm serious about that. Also, if you have a game that you'd like updated, either the setting or the mechanics, or you hate one of the games we said, like, please let us know. We want your tea.
Oh,
right.
also Tune. I'd like Tune to be redone into something that's actually playable. Would be wonderful. Thank you.
I mean, I don't actually ever remember an ending to Tune. Most of the time, it's like the thing we busted out at a con at like 1:30 in the morning, and it just evolved. Yeah, that's wild. All right. Greetings, from the archive 2019. Greetings, Fairjackers. I've been listening to your podcast for possibly a couple years. This is the first time I've emailed. After putting RPGs on pause for several years, I started running games for my two children, 7 and 10. This was a lot of fun, but the age difference and the limited number of players was somewhat limiting. Yeah, I can see that. So like 7 is like first grade, maybe second grade. That's like that's pretty young for this. More recently, I've started running a game for a small group of 10-year-olds, including my oldest son. I've never previously GM'd. My experience as a player is limited entirely to D&D. I've been running fake games with my kids for a couple years. For the group, I'm running a pretty simple pirate-themed adventure using fate and a heavy dose of SOTC.
I have no idea. I looked it up and still couldn't figure out what the heck it was.
I that if I ever had knowledge of what that system was, I have lost. It's gone out of my brain at this moment. Cool. Aside from my son, none of the kids have ever played a tabletop RPG. I have SOTC. Something. I don't know. I'll probably think of it at like midnight tonight. I'll just shout it out, and my husband will be like, "What is wrong with you?" I'll be like, "I just remembered. It's okay. Never mind." All right.
When you remember Kimmy, email the show.
I'll email the show. Spirit of the Century? Maybe. Someone in the other doc in the chat says Spirit of the Century. It's possible. Spirit of the Century. That's the only one. Yeah, that makes sense. Aside from my son, none of the kids have ever played a tabletop RPG. We've so far done 2 sessions. 2 very, very positive reviews. It's fun, and the kids report they're having a great time. But there is a persistent and, to me, quite unexpected problem that I'd like your advice on. Shadow of the Colossus also has been suggested in chat. I don't know if people are making these up now.
That was an excellent video game, but I don't know if it was a tabletop game that I know of. Maybe.
My pirate adventure takes place on an island, and after a bit of deliberation, I figured I'd start the first session with the party arriving by boat at a nearby port city where they could get their bearings and do a little bit of low-stakes role-playing before finding the location of the island and making their way there. What could go wrong? I love when I get through
everything.
Yeah, I love when I get through part of an email and I suddenly like remember it. Okay. Well, this is a long email. Okay.
Do you want me to take over?
We might take over at some point, but I'll keep going. Well, upon getting off the boat town, one of the kids decided that the way to discover the location of their objective would be to pry open random crates and barrels that were standing on the dock. I had local law enforcement come over and tell them to knock it off. And over the objections of the other characters, he had his character attack the local law enforcement. I'm not at all sure I handled the first incident correctly. The situation escalated, and when it became clear the party was going to have to fight the entire island or commandeer a ship and flee, I asked them how they wanted the scene to resolve. There was an overwhelming consensus that they'd like to find some sort of peaceful resolution, so I talked it through with them. It wasn't terribly convincing. In the fighting, a fire broke out, and when the party pitched in with the rest of the town to fight the fire, they generated enough goodwill to defuse the situation. I didn't love it, but let's move on and let the kids, and the kids seemed to buy it. Why don't you take over for a minute and then we'll switch back.
Okay. The rest of the session passed without significant incident, but this impromptu fight burned up something like half of our playtime.
Okay.
It bugged me, but all the kids said they had a great time, so I didn't figure it was a big deal. Probably the kid was just getting used to role-playing and wanted to try combat, right? I had plenty of time to prep for the next session, and since very little in-game time had passed since the incident at the dock, I figured I would have the law enforcement response be part of the action for the second session. The sheriff would bring them all into the office and dress them down. He was going to be keeping a close eye on them, and they had better be no more funny business. This would provide a bit of drama, an opportunity to roleplay, and some measure of consequence for the party's actions. In the game, the second session opened at the end of their first day in the port city. I prompted them to figure out arrangements for spending the night. They chose a tavern near the docks, and then suggested they work out their course of action for the next day. And after they deliberated for a few minutes, I interrupted them with the sheriff's men knocking on the door bright and early the next morning, demanding they come speak to the sheriff. Well, the same kid who derailed the first session had his character attack the sheriff's men. This time, I had statted them out and had enough of them on the scene that the fight did not go well at all for him, and in very little time, his characters were sitting in the cell in the town jail. And in the next cell was a crusty old pirate who had vital information. Good job. And the old pirate wanted to talk. It all worked out. Except the kids insisted his character would do nothing but sit in his cell. He wouldn't talk with the pirate. He rebuffed repeated efforts to engage in the gameplay. The rest of the kids reacted to this with a fair bit of exasperation, but they did not spend their entire session attempting to spring his character from jail. By the end of it, they'd attacked the sheriff's men multiple times, and they were now all essentially on the lam. I'm really not at all sure how to salvage this scenario or if it was even possible. I should probably also add that this kid is pretty disruptive out of game as well. Shocking. I'm shocked by that.
This, my
I'm
surprise
shocked.
face.
Yeah. He acted out physically in a variety of ways. He monopolizes game time or tries to with lengthy, irrelevant rants. He makes himself disagreeable in a number of ways. I do believe that attacking things is the only way he interacted with anything in the game. This is in stark contrast to all the other kids I've got to play with so far, who are clever, engaged, invited.
I think it's
Why can't I?
inventive.
Thank you.
It's supposed to be.
Invent.
It's not, but
Okay. Thank you. Inventive and prepared to roleplay. I've been quite amazed at how awesome these kids are. At your recommendation, I've been recording my sessions, and on review, it's pretty clear that the other kids at the table object to these in game disruptions as much as I do. It is definitely making the sessions less enjoyable for me. I feel that something has to be done. Can you recommend a way forward? There's plenty of ink spilled about how to handle problem players, but none of it seems especially relevant to 10-year-olds. Have any of you had to deal with situations like this? Are there any special considerations to keep in mind? Also, in your experience, is the murder hobo tendency just ingrained? I thought it was a learned behavior shaped by game mechanics and RPG culture. I was absolutely not expecting to show up in a kid's game. Thanks, McWorm, which is a fantastic name, by the way. Also, drink. Shirley Temples if you have them.
I don't.
I don't. Water.
Um. So the fact that they resorted to violence and you were surprised by that is the most surprising thing about this email to me, personally. Uh, as someone who's been teaching for almost 2 decades now, God, I can't believe that's true. Um, I did update my resume recently and was like, oh my God, that number, I don't like it. I dislike it. Okay. And who worked with 10-year-olds for a very long time. This especially now is like kind of what they're programmed to do. Like most of them, if they've done role playing games, have been like video games, like what they call role playing games for video games, and almost always combat or fighting is the solution or the point of play. Like The Witcher, all these things. Like yes, they have other storylines kind of weaved in there, but most of it you can get through it just fighting things mostly with very minimal story choices and so that's kind of what they've been programmed to do. What do you think, Verk?
I, I, I don't have kids. I barely interact with kids. I would like to be clear. But what I can say is myself as a kid, I was violence was what you thought of to handle situations. That's what television teaches you. That's what books teaches you. That's what literally everything teaches you,
Mm-hmm.
especially as any kind of kid. I'm sure it's even more so now with video games or whatever. But I also know that most of the time when kids get put up against a corner, they want to lash out in some way or shape or form. So it
Yeah,
wouldn't doesn't surprise me.
yeah,
Also, people do too.
totally, totally. The fight or flight instinct is even more strong in them because they haven't had as much time to develop. Their lizard brains are much stronger than most adults. Most, not all, most adults. Um, so that's very much like what they default to when they're upset or under a lot of stress or things like that. That's why, in elementary schools, like there's a lot of like not like fights on the same level you get in like high schools where they're like really punching at each other, but there's a lot of like hitting or pushing or things like that on a much smaller, less dire level that you have to deal with and you have to talk to them and it's something you have to teach is how to talk your way through an encounter. And someone who hasn't had a lot of interaction with kids at this age, just talking to them as an adult, especially as a parent, you probably have a much higher level of uh, respect for their communication abilities than what they're really able to do on a more granular level, because they have kind of had a lot of practice speaking to adults. So when they come over and hang out with your kid, hey, Mr. So and so, yeah, we're gonna go play. They probably don't call you Mr. anymore. That's an old thing, but they're probably like, hey, so and so's dad, like, how are you? Like 90%, that's what they call you. And okay, yeah, we're gonna go play. Okay, thanks. Oh wait, and they come over for dinner or whatever they do, and you're like, oh, okay, they are fully fleshed out humans. No, they are not. They're on their way. They're very much on their way. But they literally, you have to talk to them. I have scripts in my classroom, like little cue cards for them for conflict resolution, because they get angry at each other and they stop being able to communicate. So even though the emotions aren't there for interactions of this nature, they jump to that point. So having like little cue cards might be, or little option cards, like, hey, you can talk to them. This is something you might start a conversation with, especially if it's like you do it under the guise of like, oh, here's some old timey pirate ways of saying stuff. So it's no longer you being like, hey, you're kids and you don't know how to talk to each other. Here's some suggestions on how not to murder everyone. Like, be like, oh, hey, I came up with, and we sometimes the Renaissance Fair used to do this. I don't think they do it anymore, but you could come in the gate and there was like people handing out little fake like parchment things with like some like terms on it of how to ask for things in ye old Ren Fair speak. But that might be something that would be helpful here. Like, hey, instead of like, where is ye priv? Like something that they actually probably really like that. That would be a hilarious thing for 10-year-olds. But like something like that, where it's like, if you're upset, like here's something you could say. If you're challenging someone, here's this. But you're gonna have to talk them through the resolution part, because okay. Using an example of Assassin's Creed, because I've played a lot of Assassin's Creed games. I like them a lot. You like do something illegal, and you trigger the local constables or whatever, the Vikings or whatever one you're playing. And if you run far away enough, they forget you exist. And you can just walk right back up to them because their programming is such that they are no longer seeing you as a threat or a danger. And so you could literally walk right by them again. So, like, this is the practice these kids have had. So the fact that these have lasting consequences is something that they honestly are not capable of really figuring out on their own at this point. They have been programmed to think, oh, if I go away for a while and come back, you're like, no, you're a wild looking pirate person. Like, people are going to remember you, especially when you burn down half the island. Like, this isn't a thing you can just kind of go away from. Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
no, yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of cue cards, especially because I've used stuff like that for my actual adult players before, especially when they were like all kind of learning role playing games. It'd be like, I attack the NPC, and I'd like be like, all right, stop, time out, hold on. Before you do that, let's talk about the consequences.
Yeah.
Because I know I at least, and I'm sure this is similar to how he feels of like, oh, well, I'm creating this world and creating this concept of reality. So when someone says, oh, I attacked the sheriff or whatever, they're like, oh, well, he said he attacked it, he's going to attack it. When really stopping being like, out of character, let's talk about this, makes a huge difference. And yes, it may break a little bit of immersion, but really it can help the situation so much more. And I'm sure that would also work for children most of the time of being like, hey, let's talk about this before this thing happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And they need that step-by-step process. And it's fascinating because like with my little cards at the beginning of the year with the 10-year-olds in my fourth grade class, they're like 9 at the beginning of fourth grade usually. They're 10 by the end of it. But like they need me to sit there with them. And I sit there with them and we do the conflict resolution talk together. And then by the end, like they can literally do it on their own because they practiced it. Because it is something we have to learn in society. Like we as adults don't just magically get good at talking about these things. We have either been taught by someone similar to like what I do with my fourth graders, and we just don't remember that we were explicitly taught how to deal with this, or we face the consequences of not doing it and been arrested or kicked out of gaming groups or been broken up with by our significant others or whatever those consequences were. And then so we kind of learned from those experiences and taught ourselves. Like this isn't something that just magically appears like puberty. Like it's not a thing that just like shows up one day, and it's something that we learn or don't learn and then like deal with. And we all know adults who haven't learned this. Like there are absolutely like we get a number of emails about adults who clearly haven't learned this. Now with this kid specifically, it does seem like he is a little bit of an outlier with the rest of the group. I like honestly with kids, reach out to their parents first. Like ask them, because this isn't they're kids. Like this is not a regular gaming group. You can't like you're not gonna call up your 40-something friend's mom and be like, "Hey, we're playing D&D, and little Billy is like being a dick. Can you like just, like that's not how it goes as adults. We have to deal with it ourselves." You can literally call his parents or his guardians or whoever he lives with and be like, "Hey, can we talk about this?" And not to rat him out or get him in trouble, but just like, "Hey, I'm seeing this. Do you have some suggestions?" Because you have no idea. This kid might have might have, special needs of some type. If they are artistic or if they're like have ADHD or something like that, it might be really difficult for them to control those impulses. So you never know. And if that's the case, you're going to handle it in a very different way than if they're just being a little jerk. And it might be that, maybe they there's so many different things that can help. Like having a cue card can help. Having, if he's on different medications, maybe having them adjust when he takes his medication during the day can make a huge difference on how he behaves when he gets to your game. Like that's literally something we do when kids are first put on medication for different things in school, because the difference between a kid taking his medication right before they go to bed or if when she first wakes up in the morning can be vast and really affect their ability to succeed at school. And like that number of hours with the same dosage can be very different. So those are great conversations to have with the person's parent. And then again, like you're going to treat it very differently, and it will probably be less annoying to you if you understand the underlying causes. And then if maybe there are no underlying causes, or maybe they haven't been diagnosed, and that can help the parents like, oh, this is just another indicator that might help them get what their kid needs, which can be vastly helpful. There's so many times where as like teachers, we report behavior to parents and they're like, "Oh, I've never seen that before." But once enough, and sometimes they haven't, because it's a really different experience to have a kid at home and like they're the only one you deal with, or whatever, and they're doing all preferred activities at home, like, "Oh, let's go hang out, let's go take the dog for a walk, let's paint a picture, let's play a video game, let's read books," whatever it is. Then suddenly trying to make them write an essay about a red-tailed hawk in class, and they don't want to do it. So
Screw red tail hawks.
I know, so frustrating, and especially reports about them. Goodness. But making them do not what we call non-preferred activities all day is really stressful on people with neurodiversity. And a lot of times people in their home life don't see it because they don't have to, and except when it comes to homework, that's when it really usually starts clicking that people are neurodiverse. And parents are like, "I can't get her to do anything for 15 minutes." And teachers are like, "Yes, we are aware. We know. What can we do to help?" So hopefully that's what they would do. So there's a lot of factors in there. But yeah, like talk to the parents or talk to whoever they're living with. Because oh, Tobias, yeah. But yeah, I think that's a big first step, because that's going to give you more information. That's also going to let you know whether the kid's just being an edgy little dick, because kids also do that. Kids with absolutely no neurodiversity, no needs whatsoever, who just like doing it because it pisses everyone else off at the table and they think it's cool. And that's a different conversation. And that might be when you're just like, "Hey, and I would actually tell the parents. I'd be like, "Hey," because then telling the parents, you tell the kid, but like tell the parents first, be like, "Hey, this is happening. He's being very disruptive and he's ruining the time for everyone else. Would you please talk with this kid about it, and like I've talked to him, and if we both talk to him, hopefully he can continue to play. If not, I think I'm gonna have to disinvite him. I really want him to still be friends with insert my son's name here, but I just don't think, like, I'm not a trained professional working with kids. It's obviously me being the person in the email. Uh, this is not. This is too stressful. It's not fun for me. I want to make it fun for everybody involved. So maybe he shouldn't participate anymore. So
They do have this, although this is obviously long since, as these kids are now in high school.
oh
However, um, uh, if you reach out to talk to someone's parents, also be ready for the "my kid's fine, quit your whining," right? So just prepare yourself for that in case, because that is a lot of parents' reaction to stuff like this, especially if it's for something that's like for fun or a game or whatever. It's like it doesn't even register. It's too low on their list of things that they care about, and they think their kid's perfect.
yeah.
So be prepared for that as well.
Yeah. My suggestion for that hard conversation, don't give your opinions on what their kid is doing. Just start with observations. Like just keep it as cool as you can. Yeah, when they, when they went here, he killed the other characters. When he went here, he killed the other characters. When he went here, there's no judgment and facts. They feel judgment, but there is no, and it's much easier to have a conversation if you're not like, I feel so frustrated and it's upsetting. Like, you come at them at that. If you're like, they can't argue with that. They might try. They do try, but your kid didn't do this assignment or 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 this assignment. Starts to be hard to argue. Really hard to argue with. And you're like, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, I can tell that you logged in on this day and this day and this day and this day and looked at it. So I felt that you would probably be aware of this. Would you like me to walk you through the online grading program? I'm sorry, I'm getting very down in the weeds with my personal traumas regarding this particular conversation.
I'm sorry. I went a little deep there. I hit the raw. I'm sorry. That
Yeah,
wasn't my goal.
it's okay. No, it's okay. No, it was an important thing. It was an important thing to add because absolutely, yeah, the parents with this is probably not the only situation that this kid is being somewhat difficult, and the parents have probably had conversations like this a lot, so they probably are gonna get heated, like defensive. They automatically are probably going to go to that place. So, but you're not wrong, and a little more hand holding through all of it, especially in those first sessions, is probably going to go a really long way. Like, overdo what you think you need to do. Like almost to make these preteens eye roll. Like, that's like the amount of hand holding that you need to start with, and then slowly like release responsibility for them, and then it'll be better.
For sure.
All right. Thank you for joining us for Season 35, Episode 16. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Matthew Orr of Wet Ink Games. You can find more information about them at wetinkgames.com. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Burke.
Yay.
Come play game days with us. There's 2 games up already, and I know there's another one going up on Monday and probably one going up on Tuesday. So there's going to be more games coming up. Come join us for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like there was another thing I wanted to talk about that I'm probably forgetting. Can you think of anything?
Strategicon?
Strategicon, yeah.
GameX, whatever.
I think that's also it. Oh, I'm not doing the As Seen on Happy Jack's booth at Strategicon this time. It's just like a lot to balance all at the same time. And with the end of school and me moving school sites, which I'm moving school sites. By the way, hi everyone, I'm moving school sites. It'll be fun. That it's literally like moving an apartment. I have so much teaching stuff. It's so stressful, but I'm very excited. So it's just like too much for me. So it was like, I'm going to run the podcast, and I'm going to play games. I'm not going to worry about organizing the booth. So if you want any of the games from the cool people at the booths, they are going to be kind of spread out in other places, and we probably are going to be there. I'm definitely going to have stuff in my backpack that I'm going to be selling. So yeah, if you want that stuff. So let me know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and send in emails. We really need emails. We need content. We're reorganizing the Discord a little bit on how the mailbag channel is going to work. So I finally had a little bit of brain space, and all of that, like they were all fantastic, all the mods. And we're gonna do a thing, I think, where it goes into like an archive channel when I click on it, so we'll actually be able to see like how many or how few or how none of the emails are actually like viable and haven't already been read. So it should be easier for people. We'll see. Anyway, stay tuned for that. Look at that. All right. We're going to leave you with a song today. I forget which one I put in there at the top of the show because I forgot to write it down. I think it's Holy Ground by the world famous Poxy Boggarts. You can find them at poxyboggarts.com, and they're performing right now at the world famous Renaissance Pleasure Fair. If you want to see them live, you can go and see a bunch of people who are usually in these seats but aren't right now because they've been at fair all day right now. And hear some songs that I wrote and used to sing on and stuff like that. And Stu's there. Go check them out at the world famous Southern California Renaissance Pleasure Fair. So yeah, all right. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Fine girl, you
Very well, my lovely Dinah, 1,000 times adieu. We're going away from the holy ground and the girls that we love true. We will sail the salt seas over and then return for shore to see again the girls we love at the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. When we're out a sailing and you are far behind, fine letters will I write to you with the secrets of my mind. The secret of my mind, my love. You're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. Now the storm is raging, and we are far from shore. The poor old ship is tossing about, and the rigging is all tore. Well, the night is dark and dreary, and the rain chills to our core. And we pray to God that we will see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. Now the storm is over, and we are safe and well. We'll go into a public house, and we'll sit and drink like hell. Like hell! We will drink